miss them, they can have some more. Haribo's just too good.
We eat them every day. Foods, that is. No. Food colours. It's not all as it seems.
Now, this week the Tasmanian salmon industry has been brought into the spotlight for artificially colouring their fish to make the meat look pink. But it's not the only food hiding more than meets the eye. Pickles are naturally brown or grey. Did you know that? But are coloured green to make them look more appealing. Butter would be white without food colouring, and without dye, salsa wouldn't look quite as appetising. Look at that. Joining us to discuss our curious colour cravings are our masters of spin, Jane Carroll and Dan Gregory. Good morning to you both. Lovely to see you. Now, these colours, in particular with salmon, they naturally occur if they're growing in the wild. Yeah. However, when they are more industrialised, farmed, it doesn't occur. So they're now being added. Why is colour so important to us? Why won't we buy a grey pickle?
Well, it's probably weirdly goes back to when we were actually eating fresh food, and therefore we used to judge how fresh it was by its colour. So, you know, you catch the salmon out of the river and it's pink, that tells you this is a fresh salmon. But because we don't eat much fresh food anymore, most of it's, you know, basically mass-produced and all that kind of thing and has to be preserved. But if we saw it as a white or a grey colour, we'd go, ooh, it's not fresh.
So you're saying our brain has evolved to want colour in the food?
Yes, I think it has evolved, but it's not so much that it's that our mother told us and her grandmother told her, this is how you judge it, and we've incorporated that, and quite crazily, we've kind of now turned this into the way of indicating freshness. But in fact, it probably indicates the exact
totally.
I mean, that's part of it. I mean, the other thing that's going on is we've also been re-educated with food porn. And one of the big issues we have is you know, we no longer serve things on a plate, we plate it up.
Yeah.
So it's Nigella's fault.
I find it hard to blame Nigella because I like Nigella. But I think one of the things that we see is we see massive food waste for fruit that doesn't look perfect.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with it. And you know, there's a supermarket chain in France that discounts all of its misshapen fruit by 30%.
Yeah, right.
And Paris Farm do that in Australia.
And I think that's one of the things that's happened is we've got consumers who've been educated that food is supposed to look amazing as well as taste amazing. And I think that's changed
there's a sort of infantilism about it as well. I mean, oh, look, it's green. Oh, look, it's red. Oh, this one's pink. You know, we can't handle, you know, we're playing up more complex colours.
Well, that's true, but how else do we tell? So, you know, there it is, sitting there, and we've got to decide to buy it by picking it up and, you know, putting it in a bag and deciding against one or another. We can only really decide on its appearance.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. And then we get it home and we take that great big luscious-looking strawberry or tomato out, take a bite, and I don't know about you, but the better looking they are and the bigger, the more watery and ordinary they taste.
Well, since the Four Corners report this week, Tasmania's largest salmon producer, and in fact the second largest as well, have announced that they will use natural pigments in their salmon moving forward.
Yeah, but of course it's not because of the Four Corners report, though,
No,
is it?
we're already doing that. We're already looking at it. But will this save the brand? I've got to admit we buy that salmon.
I don't think the brand was ever
in
any real danger. No. I think it's such a big organisation, it's such a big business. I think, you know, I think they were wrong not to come out and say we changed because of the Four Corners report. It just was petulant and childish. Well, I cleaned my room, but not because you weren't going to give me ice cream. It's just childish. And I think if they would have been better to come out and say, look, we listened, we heard that people were concerned, so we've changed our practices. I think that would have been a better result.
Why wouldn't they just come out and say, hey, the salmon tastes just as good when it's grey?
Because in actual fact, I suspect that when we actually got to the point of purchase and next to it was the pink salmon and there's this rather grey looking salmon, most people are going to choose the pink. And they know that. And I have to say, I probably would too. If I had a platter of smoked salmon for guests and it was grey and I'd be saying, yeah, but this is a natural one, I bet you most of it would get left.
Same reason I drive a German car.
Yeah.
I can understand why no one would buy a brown Polski ogórki. You know, the Polish pickles, which are being unnaturally coloured green because they're naturally brown.
Because they've got a silly name.
Because they look like poo. Yeah. Little poo in a jar.
Now that is all I'm thinking about. Dan, Jane, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Think of happy things. Think of flowers.
Zone. When it's